One of the most important decisions you'll ever have to make as an artist is which digital distributor you're going to choose for your music. Just in case you don't know what a digital distributor is yet, it's the company that puts your music on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and every other streaming service. It's the difference between doing smaller, more independent releases on websites like Bandcamp and SoundCloud, and doing widespread global releases where your music will end up in the same streaming services as the musicians you look up to. There are a lot of options for distributors out there such as CD Baby, TuneCore, Distrokid, and many others, but I'm not going to talk about those today. In fact, I'm just going to talk about a more premium distributor that actually doesn't let every artist join, and that's my distributor, AWAL. Many of you who have been following the channel for a while have heard me talk about AWAL and have even seen screen captures of the AWAL portal. And so in this video, I'm going to dive in deep into how AWAL works and even take you behind the scenes into my portal and show you everything that AWAL has to offer, as well as some practical strategies on how you can increase your chances of getting approved as an AWAL artist. So let's dive right in. All right, everyone, welcome to the screen capture. We're here on the AWAL homepage, and I just want to take a couple minutes with an overview, just in case you haven't gone through the website yet and you've only heard about AWAL through YouTube. Just want to kind of cover a few things before we move forward. But AWAL is a digital distributor that has major record label resources, and that's what makes them really unique. So just kind of looking at their homepage, they describe that pretty well, and you can see that right out front they're showing some major artists that they work with. That's because AWAL is owned by a major music publisher called Kobalt Publishing. So these guys, even though they do work with small artists, they really are a big player when it comes to major influence in the established music industry. So it's really cool to have a company like this that has artist services for artists that are starting out, but also has a plan for artists that want to climb the ranks with AWAL. And so I'm gonna link all of these pages in the description below for you to check out. But this is a really valuable page on their website that shows how their AWAL services are segmented based on where you are in your music career. So for artists starting out who are showing a trajectory, and that's an important word, I'm going to talk about that more, there's something called AWAL Core, and that is where the distribution comes into play, and that's where the first level of application begins. This is where most artists are trying to apply into, and when we talk about getting onto AWAL, we're talking about AWAL Core here, but there is more to AWAL than just the digital distribution. There's AWAL Plus, and this is where AWAL themselves reach out to you and identify you and start to back you with funding, with opportunities. They'll upstream you, they'll put you in playlists. So that is on the horizon if, once again, you're showing a trajectory for growth and you're showing a whole bunch of specific things that we're going to talk about later in this video. And then lastly, AWAL Recordings, which is literally their record label. They have major connections with the rest of the established music industry, and you'll see that if you would scroll down to more information on AWAL Recordings, you'll see huge artists that are going on national tours that are backed by hundreds of thousands of dollars, who have millions and millions of streams. Reaching this level is not going to be typical. Most artists will never get here, but some might. So I just wanted to outline this for you. And once again, this is a great page to just read over if you want to learn more about AWAL and what basically their whole business model is based around. Definitely give this a read when you have some time. Now, a couple of other pages that I want to point out to you is, one, their application page, because once again, even though AWAL does have a lot of the same services as Distrokid, CD Baby, TuneCore, they actually differ in the fact that they don't let any artist join. And that's pretty special in my opinion. That really makes you think about where you are in your music career, because with platforms like Distrokid, where it's kind of a race to the bottom, where anyone can release music at almost any quality with or without a marketing plan, AWAL is different. They want to see a trajectory in your career. And I'll actually make another video in the future specifically talking about how to show trajectory, because it's a really complicated topic, and it involves a lot of things like branding, marketing, showing that you have growth right now. And they're looking for all of those things in the artists that apply. And so it's more than just showing social media numbers. They know that social media followers can be bought. They know that a lot of artists are just kind of gaming the system to try to grab attention. And so they look at a lot of elements. And so once again, I'm going to outline that in a future video because I feel it's really important and it deserves its own video. So just check out this page, bookmark it. And another really great page is their FAQ page, where you can probably get a lot of your AWOL questions answered here. For example, you might be wondering how much of a cut they take from your music, and the answer to that is 15% of everything that they collect they get to keep, and then you keep the 85. So that is all outlined on the AWAL website, because the more that you learn, the better equipped you are to decide. And you might not even want to go with AWAL upon learning that they take a 15% cut, and you might want to go with another distributor that lets you keep 100% of your royalties and just charges a yearly fee, for example. So once again, all of these pages I'm going to link in the description below, but now let's go to the fun part. I want to show you what your AWAL portal is going to look like after you get approved as an AWAL artist. So for that, I'm going to tab on over to my AWAL dashboard. This is the portal dashboard. It's very simple. It's just an overview of your stream counts. And so this graph right here is showing your total streams across Spotify and Apple Music. And then below, it's separated out to where you can see the split of Spotify users and Apple Music users. And as you can see, there's a huge split for me. I need to focus on Spotify, and that's where I have been focusing the most. So up in the navigation, I'm going to head on over to Overview, which is going to give us a little more detailed look of everything that's going on. I'm going to set the window to 1 month, and you're about to see why I love AWAL so much. And it's because they give you so much data that's actually usable. So we'll just work down this page section by section. Right here, you can see, once again, the same information. You can see your stream counts. You can see the split between Spotify and Apple as far as usership. And then this is really cool. You can see how many of those fans are engaged listeners and how many are leaning back. And the difference between that is mostly due to how many are listening on your artist profile on Spotify and Apple Music, and how many are listening on playlists. And this is really important because if you're doing too much playlist promotion, you'll see that your engaged audience is almost nothing. And I've fallen into that trap before where my engaged audience was down to 2 or 3%. But now that I have this data, I can balance my marketing efforts from playlist promotion to advertising to more organic sources of traffic so that I can just have a healthy fan base and not have a ton of streams and think that I'm popular, but actually know how many people are engaged with my music versus people who are only hearing my music in a very impersonal way, like playlists. Another feature that I really love is this trend graph, and you can actually tab over to see specific tracks and how specific tracks are doing. So as you can see right here, we started a promo for Westside, and it's really awesome to see analytics that are more in depth than Spotify for artists. You can also tab over to countries and see who is listening, and looks like the top countries are United States, Philippines, Brazil, Indonesia, and Mexico. So that's pretty awesome. We do a lot of global targeting, but to me, it's really important that most of the listeners that we gather are from the US because that's where I'm based. And so I just want to make sure I can monitor this balance well. And it's cool to see it in a graph over time. Now, because I have the record label account, I can see all of the artists that I've distributed, all the tracks I've distributed, even all the playlists that we've gotten on, the playlist activity, even the position of the track. It gets very, very detailed. So for example, you can see that Westside got placed on Umbrella Academy Netflix soundtrack as number 7, which is pretty high up on the playlist. But then over in TikTok dances, its position is 150, which means that there are 150 tracks above our song Westside. So that's not the best placement, but it's just good to know, and it's good to see this in-depth data that you usually would only get by paying for a third-party analytics service like Chartmetric, and that's all included in AWAL if you get distributed by AWAL. Once again, audience data as far as country, you can always click view all and get a more in-depth view. And then demographic data like age and gender, which is pretty important to keep tabs on, especially when you're developing your voice and your branding. Lastly, and I've covered this in another video, especially when I went in depth on how to identify if a Spotify playlist is legit, AWAL is so awesome to lay out the source, the devices, and the time of day that everyone's listening. And this is how you can detect whether or not bots are listening to your music. So, for example, it's important to know whether or not people are listening on your artist profile, in an album collection, or on other playlists such as third-party playlists or algorithmic playlists. And this is really good to know and keep tabs on. But most importantly, this is what I love about AWAL right here, the device analytics portion of the analytics page. I get to see what devices my listeners are using to actually listen to my music. And I can keep tabs on this and look for a red flag if this other category gets too high, because this is what a healthy chart looks like. Most people listen on their mobile devices, and then on their desktop and other devices like Xboxes and PS4s, it's about split. So I want to make sure that mobile is my most used device because that's just real life. It's reflective of real people listening to music. As soon as this gets out of whack, it could cause for alarm because one of your promotion methods is probably fake or there's some other issue going on. And that's why I love AWAL, because the analytics are actually so usable. It's here all laid out in a dashboard, but even better, I can go down to the artist level if I choose to. Now, if you don't have a record label account on AWAL, you won't need to do this switch that I'm about to do. But since I am on a label account, I need to click into an artist to view the artist specific analytics. So right here, this is for my music. Once again, I'm going to click over to view the 1 month time frame. And so you get all of the same important data, but now it's down to the artist level. So if I want to keep tabs on my own music career, I can make sure that people are actually listening through my songs all the way by looking at my completion rate. And not to toot my own horn, but 74% is actually really good. I can see how many people are engaged and how many people are leaning back, right? I talked about that earlier. Engaged listeners, they're listening on your profile or within your album, and leaned back listeners are listening on playlists. Once again, I could tab on over to see how my tracks are comparing to each other. And the reason why is because this needs to reflect what your marketing efforts are doing. You need to get feedback on whether your marketing is working. So good analytics is power when you're actually marketing your music, putting your music out there. You want to make sure you're actually getting the results that you're trying to accomplish. Another really cool analytic that AWAL offers is the streams per listener graph. And basically this shows whether or not your fans are listening to your songs multiple times. So if I hover over the green line, which is Spotify, I can see that on average, people are listening to my song about 1.2, 1.3 times, which is letting me know that a little less than half of my listeners are listening to my song again. So that's really cool. It can especially let you know if your songs are high quality. And the crazy thing is that over on Apple Music, I actually have more engaged fans, but at the same time, I have less fans over on Apple. So Apple is doing better, but of course there are less data sources. Spotify has 94% of my streams, so the average is going to be a little stronger, whereas Apple is going to have more outliers in the data. Now, if you're doing Spotify playlist promotion at all, you're definitely going to want to check out the playlist analytics so you can keep tabs on any playlist that your music got on, and you can also click into the playlist and get a more detailed view of exactly what's happening on this one specific playlist. So once again, my artist Artur Nelson, his track West Side is on this playlist called TikTok Dances 2020. And right here you can see things like stream count, position on the playlist, and the completion rate, which is pretty important. So it's good to know that a lot of the listeners are actually listening through the whole song on the playlist and they're not just skipping through. This is another way you can check to see if a playlist is high quality and not using bots that are only listening to the minimum amount of the song required for a play, which I think is 30 seconds. So if this playlist had bots in it, the completion rate would be around 15%, not 70% like it's showing here. You can also see for this specific playlist where the plays are coming from in the world. And so TikTok Dances 2020, most of the plays are coming from the Philippines and the United States, which I'm okay with. As long as the United States is one of the top sources, I'm comfortable. The Philippines has a lot of Spotify users and they love pop music, so it only makes sense that they would be high on this list as well. So keeping tabs on that is important for all types of promotion, but especially Spotify playlist promotion. So lastly, before we end this video, I just want to show you a little bit of the AWAL uploader, which is a really clean and updated way to release your music. So when you're ready to start a new release, you just click the start button. So just to show you a few things, I'll add in a sample release title. And then I'm not going to drop in cover art, but it's just drag and drop. And then you can go to the next section where you put in your primary artist. You can also choose from past artists. They save them in your account for easy future use. The release information, they cover everything, including the copyright info. If you have a UPC code already, you can enter it in. Otherwise, AWAL will provide you with one, which is really awesome, absolutely free. All of the important genre information, track information, is all customizable here. It's a very powerful release software. Speaking of release, they give you a lot of options for exactly how you want your music to drop, including a release date, a pre-order plan, even custom territories where you can actually exclude certain territories from your release. So for example, if you have two versions of your track, you have an English version and a Latin version, you can literally go through and distribute your song twice and exclude the territories that are applicable for each version of the song. Very powerful stuff here in AWAL. Then lastly, you'll be able to review, but obviously I didn't put anything in here, so there's a ton of errors. And that's one of the great things as well, because if there is an error, if something's formatted wrong, if you uploaded the wrong type of file or anything like that, AWAL will help you out and make sure that your release is successful. Just as a personal story, I was able to release music on AWAL that other distributors wouldn't take. If you've seen my other video about how I got banned from Distrokid, you'll know that all distributors aren't created equal, and each distributor has its own relationship with the streaming platforms. And so since AWAL is very highly regarded in the music industry, once again, it's owned by Kobalt Records and Kobalt Publishing, you can trust that if you're an approved AWAL artist and you release your music through AWAL, you will get it distributed. You won't get banned, you won't get shut down the way that I did on Distrokid. So with that, guys, I hope this video helps show you how awesome AWAL is. If you want to learn more, they have a really great knowledge base as well as support team on their website that you can check out. And rest assured, if you do get approved, they have really great accounting and reporting and statements so that you know that you're actually getting your royalties. They send out royalty statements every month so that you can keep tabs on your earnings, and it's just very professional. So I hope that you learned what you needed to learn about AWAL today, and in a future video that I'm working on right now, I'm going to talk about how you can show trajectory in your music career so that when you apply to AWAL, you can actually have a better chance of getting in. Because that's what they're looking for at the AWAL team. They want to see that your music's growing, that all of your social accounts are on the rise and showing a real fan engagement. And I'm going to show you what I did to get approved on AWAL and what you can do to increase your chances. Don't forget to check out these links that I'll leave for you in the description, and I'll be doing you a disservice if I didn't remind you about the free workshop that I prepared for you in the description below. It's a free music marketing workshop that's going to teach you how you can market your music more effectively to earn more of a music income and to grow your audience online. So that's completely free. All you have to do is click the link below and I'll email you all the information. You'll also get my Spotify playlist marketing game plan, which is an ebook that I wrote on everything that you need to know before diving into Spotify playlists, and also my royalty collection ebook that tells you everywhere you need to sign up in order to collect all of your music royalties. I put a lot of time into that. It's over 20 pages of information, and it's all for free included in the workshop in the description. So I hope you decide to take me up on that offer, and I'll see you in the future video where I talk more about how you can get approved as an AWAL artist. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.